The menu has been planned for months. A dinner to fill Republican campaign chests. A chance to hobnob with the powerful. Now tainted by charges that it's the invitation you can't refuse. Really?
I've read some allegations that concern me very much because there should not be coercion in fundraising. It's outrageous.
Tonight, political indigestion over the president's dinner.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ed Koppel.
There were two political stories tonight. Later, we'll be bringing you our main focus, fundraising. But first, the primary in Pennsylvania. Sometimes the wild-eyed horror with which some people greet the news that donors to political campaigns expect something in return. A little like that classic scene in Casablanca where Claude Rains expresses his shock upon learning that there's gambling at Humphrey Bogart's gin mill. "I am shocked," he says, as he's handed a fistful of cash representing his winnings for the night. Well, of course political donors expect something, nothing illegal necessarily, but at least enhanced access, getting their phone calls returned by someone other than a secretary. In theory, recent reforms limiting the amount of money that any one donor could give were supposed to put an end to that. But where there's a will, there's a way. And when the President of the United States or people acting in his name want to raise money, you can bet they don't have to resort to a 1-800 number. And if there are some committed souls who go to a lot of trouble to convince their friends, co-workers, and employees to say, buy a couple of tables at a fundraising dinner, couldn't we see to it that somebody influential from Congress or the executive branch sits with them for dinner? Sure we can. Here's Nightline correspondent Dave Marish.
If, as is frequently said, money is the mother's milk of politics, then this is the mother of all milking barns.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States and Mrs. Bush.
Washington's Convention Center, where tonight's President's dinner is expected to raise $7 million for the Republican Party's congressional campaign organizations.
Even as this event is being celebrated, even as the dollars are being counted, a stain of scandal is spreading here. It began with charges that some people were being coerced into buying tickets for this dinner and that the coercion was part of a plan to win a presidential pardon for a big-time white-collar criminal.
The man accused of pressuring his employees to come to this $1,500 a plate event is conspicuous by his absence tonight. James R. Elliott decided not to attend, just as he has decided not to talk with Nightline. But yesterday, President Bush felt compelled to comment on the charges surrounding Elliott.
I've read some allegations that concern me very much because there should not be coercion in fundraising. It's outrageous. And I pride myself on a good, clean record in this regard.
The allegations originated at the Madison, Wisconsin office of Cherry Payment Systems, a company that services credit card transactions for businesses and banks. Will Neese was manager of the office when he got a letter from company president Elliott asking him to contribute to the president's dinner.
Seat at the table would be $1,500.
Was that a significant dent in your personal budget?
Well, that was a good portion of what I had made that whole year.
Neese says that first letter was followed by others from his superior, regional marketing director Peter Moles, containing such threatening phrases as, quote, "I would like to know who is going to be part of the long-term growth of this operation, and therefore who will be in attendance." And, quote, "If you're asking yourself, can I afford to make this trip, then ask yourself if you can afford not to." On March 2nd, Neese says, he finally told Moles he would not be going.
The next morning, I walked into my office, and around 10 o'clock, somebody had barged into my office and said, "Call Peter Moles." I called Peter, and Peter says, "You're out of there."
Elliott denies there was any coercion, but to some observers, Neese's story is a common one, which proves that we need campaign finance reform. To columnist Clarence Page, it proves the opposite, that reform can cause unforeseen problems.
The problem is, in the name of reform, we have restricted the amount of money that a company or a company boss can contribute to a campaign, but we have left the door open for employees to contribute, which means you left the door open for employers to coerce employees one way or another into contributing to their cause.
But what is James Elliott's cause? Several of his employees have told the Washington Post he wants to win a presidential pardon for a series of bank fraud convictions he suffered in the mid-1980s.
For the crimes that Jim Elliott was convicted of, it would be a mistake ever to pardon him for those crimes.
Robert Breisblatt, now a Chicago attorney, has decorated his office with the commendation he got from then FBI Director William Webster for prosecuting James Elliott.
Initially, he was found guilty of defrauding the Federal Housing Administration and the Veterans Administration on a series of home loan applications that had been submitted. That followed shortly by his entry into the banking industry.
The bottom line, Breisblatt says Elliott helped bring down at least 3 Illinois banks, stuck Uncle Sam with a lot of unsaleable real estate, and cost taxpayers more than $20 million.
The problem is the whole scenario looks sleazy all because of Elliott's past record and the way he went to people in political power for help.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Elliott's lawyer, former Illinois Governor Jim Thompson, a national vice chairman of the President's Dinner, asked Elliott to become a regional fundraiser as a personal favor, notwithstanding Elliott's past crimes and the fact that he is currently under investigation by the FDIC for violations of the bank laws. Thompson, like Elliott, has declined to speak with Nightline. For Elliott, the dinner opened a potential path to the president. By bundling his employees' $1,500 ticket contributions, Elliott could fill a table for $15,000 and win a congressman as a dinner guest. Fill 2 tables for $30,000, and he could pick a senator for his table. And if he could raise $92,000, a figure he seems narrowly to have missed, the dinner's rules say he would get a personal photo opportunity with President Bush himself. And that can also be a powerful opportunity to plead your case.
Sometimes it works to your disadvantage, in that the candidate thinks that was